All right, everyone. It looks like we've got a full house. Once again, this is Rob Brewster. I am the Vice President of Sales and Customer Success here at GoFormz. So thank you guys for joining, and we'll go ahead and get started. So the topic today is top 7 mobile form features to modernize your business. And really appreciate you guys joining. I also want to say that if you find the webinar appealing and you want to share it with your colleagues or friends, we are recording this session, and we'll send that link out shortly after the webinar's conclusion, so you'll have a chance to get it into the hands of other people inside of your organization should you choose. So what we're going to accomplish today is going through basically 7 mobile form features that can modernize your business. I'm going to talk a little bit about the benefits of each one and do my best to give you some real-world examples of how our customers are doing so. So let's start with, first of all, we need to be on the same page here. If we're not, this webinar is not going to last very long, and that is the fact that mobile forms are better than paper forms. And I'm going to go through a lot of the reasons why, but I mean, just the natural ability of being able to leverage a device versus filling out a piece of paper is just going to give you incredible efficiencies in the field. But there's some other things, and this is what we're going to talk about today. Think about your phone and the ability to take pictures and the ability to do text or speech to text. There's just a lot of different technologies that you can now leverage in a mobile form that's just so much better than paper form. So new data types and more complete information. Capturing accurate data is always key. When you have the ability of human error from the standpoint of a calculation or an incorrect address or the wrong zip code or the wrong phone number, you can have a lot of challenges there. So capturing accurate data is a huge benefit and clearly a time saver as well. And then form data is instantly handed into the office. Imagine, a field technician who's filling out the form. Maybe they're a traveling technician and they have to go back to their corporate office or back to their home office or the local Starbucks, whatever it may be, and they have to scan all those forms in. They've got to PDF them. They've got to email them to their boss. I mean, the idea now is when you complete a form on a mobile device, you can have workflow already set up that allows that form to be stored in the proper location and or sent to the proper supervisor and or approver or whatever your workflow may be. Data being searchable and accessible in real time, just such a huge advantage of leveraging different field types, different database fields that you can pull data into is clearly valuable. And then forms and data being used in other systems. So we do have integration that's available, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but being able to leverage data that's already in your CRM or your ERP system certainly helps as well. And then lastly, use your tablet and smartphone resources to capture better data. That's kind of what I talked about in the beginning, but it's just as the technology advances, clearly those advances come into the form as well. So let's start with the first one. And this one, may be really obvious, but I want to talk to, the real benefits of it. When you think about people, when I first started at GoFormz, they were like, oh yeah, forms, yeah, that's interesting, but clearly someone's done that. And my answer is always, it is so much more than forms. You can't think of it that way. And I think the first thing that jumps out at me is the ability to leverage photo and image fields. So now, one of the benefits there is you could always do that with your mobile phone, but whenever somebody takes a picture, in this case, it's actually associated with the data field. So the best example I can give is an inspection form. Imagine that you're out on an inspection and you're dealing with a particular device that you're trying to repair, and you want to be able to take a picture of it as opposed to just explaining it in the text field. A picture is worth 1,000 words, and that literally is true here. I think one of the real benefits there is I know I had a technician come to my house who was repairing something, and they were taking pictures, and I said, what are you going to do with that picture? And he said, well, I'll probably email this and then I'll associate it with your record, and that's how I'll know. But when you're doing this in a mobile form, you actually have it associated with the proper record, with the proper field, just a really valuable way to leverage images. The next one is sketch and draw. So once again, you could leverage a picture here, or you could actually have a schematic or a house design, whatever the case may be. And we give you the ability to actually circle and annotate and point and call out the specific areas that are really valuable for someone to see. I think the most obvious choice here would be the vehicle rental agreements. I think we've all, rented a car, and when you go there, you have to call out the areas where there's a flaw. And, some people do the little checkbox, but when you can actually take a picture and circle it and leverage it, it's just so much more powerful. So, the car rental agreement is clearly the easiest spot. But one other area that might be really valuable from a sketch perspective is, let's assume that you're a field service technician and you're servicing a particular device. You might want to have the history of the pictures and the sketches that you've had in the past. So just a lot of value here in being able to leverage Sketch and Draw. Next, GPS fields. So we actually can leverage GPS. So you have the ability of not only putting the proper directions for a technician to go out so that they know exactly where they're heading versus just an address, which is really valuable. But I think the best thing that I've seen here is we have a client who does a retail inspection as to the displays that are in the store. And so they clearly are leveraging pictures and some of the other things that I shared with you a moment ago. But one of the things that I didn't expect to be a value for us was the manager who had all of these technicians said, I really want the GPS data on there because I want to make sure that they're actually in the stores, because he had this perception that people were sitting at the local Starbucks and filling out the forms and not actually in the store. So not only did he want the GPS data on there so that he could track that they were there, but he wanted it hidden. So the obvious one would be, hey, let's make it available because they benefit from it. But this particular guy wanted it hidden on the form so that he could see the GPS information, but the technicians in the field couldn't. So I know that's a little bit of a weird use case, but that was one of the ways that they wanted to leverage GoFormz, which is great. We can do that. Next, I want to talk about calculated fields. So calculated fields are huge, and we deal with a lot of people who are dealing with invoices where they've got products that they're selling, and you want to be able to do the proper calculation of, they bought 3 products, it's $100, so clearly the total is $300. But it's actually much more complex than that. You can do calculations regarding taxes. So if you're in San Diego County, there's a particular tax rate that you want to be able to put in there, and many people have different discount percentages that they have for premier clients. So maybe your gold client gets a 20% discount, it can auto-calculate that for you. So not only is it valuable from a time savings for the technician in the field, but it's giving you, the right kind of accuracy that you need. Clearly, one of the use cases you would see this in would be expense reports, but it's also for things like, orders. So calculated fields is a great opportunity there. One other thing I would say about the calculations is you can actually get pretty complex with this. It could be as simple as the use cases I've just described, but if you're familiar with calculations in Excel, it's basically the same type of format that you would use inside of GoFormz to manage calculations. And then automated workflow. So best example I can give here is, we use invoices as the example here because at the end of a field service call as an example, and you've concluded the work and the customer has signed off, when you actually complete that, that invoice can be in the hands of the customer. You could also have that automatically sent to your supervisor so that they see that information. But I think one of the real advantages of the workflow is we have a pizza restaurant franchise that uses GoFormz, and they actually have an inspection service that's being done. And when they go through that inspection, people can pass or fail, and once again leveraging the calculations. But when they have completed it, it automatically is sent to the manager, who then has the ability of seeing how many stores in his region are passing, how many stores are failing. That workflow is really powerful, and I think the thing that makes your lives easiest related to leveraging a technology like this is you already have some form of a workflow, whether it be with a different technology, whether it be with your paper forms that you're scanning and emailing later. There is some form of a workflow that you've already got in place. We can actually leverage your existing workflow, but now turn it into automation, which is incredibly powerful. Moving on to number 6, APIs and integration. So all the things that we provide benefits for somebody who's going from paper to mobile, those are all pretty obvious. But when you think about how you can integrate it with other aspects of your business, that's really where the power comes from. So out of the box, we do have some integrations to common areas like Box, Salesforce, ServiceMax, Zapier, and give you the ability to basically take whatever you've completed in that form and then leverage these other technologies from a workflow perspective or from just storage. Let's use Box as the example. If you are working in the field and you have multiple accounts and you've saved your form, one of the things we can do is if your workflow or your methodology says that you need to save it to Box, we have a metadata layer in the Box integration that basically says, if that folder already exists with this company name, place this file in that folder. If that folder does not exist, create that folder and then place it in there. So the Box integration is pretty sophisticated from that perspective. And then when you look at something like ServiceMax, ServiceMax is a field service technology. They do a lot of work orders. So one of the advantages of having that integration is it's bi-directional, meaning when a dispatcher sets up the work order, that work order is now put in the mobile device of the field technician. And when the field technician opens it up, all the data associated with that work order that came from ServiceMax is in that form. So now they have the client information, they have the product information, and they actually have step-by-step the inspection that they're supposed to perform. So that's really valuable. And then the bi-directional piece, going back to ServiceMax, is after that inspection has been done or that work order has been performed and you hit complete, it will then take a copy of that work order and put it back in the ServiceMax record, stored directly into the account that it's supposed to be in. So bi-directional integration is really powerful there. And then lastly, on the Zapier side, we do have that integration, which allows you to connect to things like QuickBooks or homegrown systems or literally hundreds of other applications. And that's just a great way for you to leverage the API and integrations. And then the last feature, and in my opinion, one of the most important, because if you've gone through all of this that I've described and you're actually not reporting on it, what a shame. So we do have reports available as well. I was using the pizza delivery franchise previously, and imagine that you're a regional manager and you've got 100 stores that you're dealing with. If in your old workflow, if all you ever did was take these documents and store them somewhere so that they were just these flat files that you never looked at again, what a crime. But if you are that regional manager, and let's say that this was a pass-fail inspection that you were doing, and you wanted to see which one of your stores were failing, let's just say for the sake of not enough toppings on the pizza, you could actually run a report that says, give me all the stores in my region that have failed this particular line item in the form, and now you've got a training opportunity. So now you can say, you know what, these are the 10 stores in my region that have this problem. I'm going to reach out to those store managers, put them on a conference call, remind them of what took place, and you have a great training opportunity there. So in my opinion, reporting's huge. It's one of the things we do really well, and I think one of the biggest advantages of actually going from paper to a mobile device. So let's recap. So we talked about the 7 features. The benefits of these features are you're going to save time. The calculations are going to clearly reduce human error. Capturing new data types, and it's great that we can capture the new data types that we talked about today, but just imagine how the technology is going to change over time, and we can continue to leverage the changes in mobile device technology. Being able to store, track, and search those documents in a database, incredibly powerful, as I mentioned in that training opportunity. Running reports across all the data, and then integrating everything that you've done into your business processes, your business systems is incredibly valuable. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about pricing. The first thing I wanted to share is that we have 4 editions. If you're going left to right, the basic edition is free. It's for one user, it's for one form, and you can use that service for as long as you'd like. We'll always have a free model for you. If you have a larger organization, multiple forms, multiple users, and you want to take advantage of some of the things that I've talked about, like the being able to build out your form templates, being able to have automation in your emails, the calculations, the box integration, that's our team edition, so that's $12 per user per month. The next level is advanced, and the main difference you see there is the API and the integration for the out-of-the-box integrations that I referenced earlier. We also give you priority email support. You'll get dynamic field properties, so you get some additional levels of complexity that you can use. But the main difference between Team and Advanced is being able to move to the out-of-the-box integrations. And then lastly, Premier. Premier is where you get full API access. This is where you can do a lot of custom integrations. And you're also going to see over time, we're going to come out with some additional security and other enterprise level security type features that will be in Premier going forward. One other thing I wanted to mention as a thank you for you being on the webinar is we are going to offer a free template build for anyone who's been on this webinar. All I need you to do is leverage the promo code when you're signing up as Modernize, and then we'll know that you've attended this webinar. And what I mean by free template build is everything that we've talked about of the 7 features that are valuable for mobile forms. Remember, you're starting with a form. So you take a PDF or a JPEG of a form that you're using today, and you can load that up into GoFormz, and we essentially make that form an editable form where you can start to decide, do I want a picture here? Do I want a calculation here? Do I want to put a drop-down field here? Most people can load up that JPEG and start using GoFormz, and that's great. But if you're not overly technical, or if you don't have the time to do that, we actually do offer a form building service, and we typically charge $100 per hour for that form building service. What I'm offering to you guys is we're going to do a free template build for you. So not only can you get started in any of the additions that make sense for you, but we can jumpstart this effort for you by saying, give us your form, and we'll knock out that first form for you and get you started on the right path. And then lastly, one of the things you can see the different features that we have here, but the text at the top is really what I wanted to focus on. This is your form. This is one of the key differentiators for GoFormz. So there are other players in the space, but most of them take the approach of, hey, your form's not digital, it's not where it should be. You're going to rebuild your form in our format, and then you can take advantage of some of our features. What we say is, no, your form's great, because you've been using it for all these years. You've got technicians who already know how to use it, who may not be the most technically adept folks in the world. So let's take your form and let's put that in the GoFormz, and then we make it editable. So that not only helps with the process of getting started, but imagine the change management aspect. If someone's never used a Android device or a iPad device, and they're a little challenged by the new technology that's being introduced, what a great way to start it with the first thing they're going to see is a form that they've been filling out in the field for the last 20 years. Only now that form is going to be digitized and so much more powerful for them. So I do want to make sure that I close with the idea that your form can be moved into a mobile form. We're not asking you to recreate something. Now, should you choose, we can clearly make it better. But if you like the way it works today, we can have you leverage that exactly as is. So with that, I wanted to thank you. I wanted to have our website here. Not only can we spend some time with you on a more detailed demo that our sales team or our customer success team can do for you. You can sign up for a 14-day free trial, or you can go get started with any of the additions that I mentioned previously. We have had some questions come through, and I wanted to make sure that I was able to address those for you. So the first one that I see is pretty simple. It's, can you annotate a picture? And the answer is absolutely. If you remember the second feature that I referenced here, matter of fact, I'll scroll up there and actually show you in real time. So sketch and draw. So yes, you can actually annotate a picture. We call it sketch and draw, but the picture is right there, and you can see that annotations can be applied. And then I have one here. Do you know of any clients that have integrated GoFormz with Synergen, which is a Oracle product? I don't off the top of my head. Now that doesn't mean that it could not have happened, that somebody could have built that, but I am not aware of Synergen certainly it's not an out-of-the-box integration. If someone's done it, we're not familiar with it. But if you wanted to follow up with me personally on that, happy to talk to you. We can talk through what we can do with Zapier or how to make that happen. Next one is there a library of forms that we can customize to fit our needs but won't need to start from scratch? Great question, and the answer is yes. One of the things we've done most recently with our marketing team is to come up with about 8 different forms that are these templates that we know are common use cases, and we'll absolutely give those to you. So what I've been referencing is you may have a form that you can load up. We actually have for some common things like expense reports, sign-in sheets, inspections. We've created our own forms that you can use as a template to get started. So happy to do that for you. Wow, lots of questions coming in. So for a single site installation, do all users require to be on the same plan? Some are data inputters and others may be more administrative. That's a great question, and we do see this more and more. So the simple answer is, for a single installation, you're on one plan, meaning I don't have the ability of saying some of the users are going to be advanced users and some of the users are going to be team users. You have to choose one or the other. But let's be honest, at the end of the day, really all you're asking for is what's my price for what I'm trying to accomplish. And over time, we expect to give you that flexibility where you can mix and match. But since we don't have that today, it's essentially a conversation that we would have as to how many users you need of each one, and then we'll come up with the right pricing model for you. So until we get there, we'll be as flexible as we can with price. Let's keep going. Can I attach formats that are already contain information, not be blank? Let me make sure I'm understanding that correctly. Attach formats that already contain information, not be blank. I'll ask you to follow up with me personally on that. I'm not entirely sure what you mean. When you talk about formats, I'm assuming that you may be talking about a calculation, but follow up with me personally on that and I'll see what I can do. Boy, lots of questions. I'm glad you guys are keeping this interactive. Can the data be downloaded daily into a house database? Absolutely. So one of the advantages of our API is you can set it up to work in any way that you want. It could be a flat file, CSV file that you load in customer data, or if you want the data at the end of the day to go into a different database, absolutely. Can you use if-then type calculations? For example, copy shipping address into fields to billing address. If a field, same as shipping is check. Yes, you can, absolutely. Probably not the easiest thing for you to do yourself, but we can certainly help you with that. And they keep coming in. Is there a way for me to get a form, someone else that built something that is very similar to what I want? It's a good question. That probably goes back to the comment I made if we've kind of built out 8 templates that we can use. We don't have a customer database of all the forms that are out there that you can leverage. But if you had something like a hard copy that you could scan and send our way, we could figure that out. So once again, there's not like a customer repository of all the forms that are out there that you can choose from, but there's ways to work around that. Okay, just a couple of others that had come through. I do see, what devices do you support? So we do support iOS, we do support Android, and technically we support Windows devices. We have a few clients that use that, but to be perfectly honest with you, we would try and move you to an iOS or Android device, only because that's where the majority of our innovation is taking place. And like I said, we do have Windows customers today, but it's not a device that we support publicly, and it's not where the innovation is happening. If you have a very simple use case and you're really married to the Windows devices, we can have a conversation with you. But if you have the flexibility to go to one of the other two, I would highly recommend that you do that. One other was, do you support barcodes? So we see this typically in retail environments, but yes, we will be supporting barcodes at the end of next week. So we have a new release coming out where barcodes has been requested by our customer base. So we are coming out with that. It will be available at the end of next week, and that will be available in our Team edition, and certainly advanced in Premiere, but starting at Team. Let's answer one more. We're coming up on the end of time, so I'll go to the last one here. Is it possible to duplicate pages within the same form or delete an unnecessary page? Yeah, it's really just a part of your template. So however you need to build that out, we can help do that. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have time for all these questions because they're still coming in, but what we'll do is we will respond to every question that's been here, so we'll do that via email. I also want to invite any of you to go to the website where we have an 800 number to speak to sales. We have a chat line where you can speak to someone. You're welcome to reach out to me directly at rbrewster, B-R-E-W-S-T-E-R, at GoFormz.com. And once again, I thank you all for your time, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.